So our debate topic is which species causes greater damage or losses in agriculture, either the sugarcane aphid or the soybean aphid. I'm Amy Opersteny, and the species I'm defending is the Melanophis saccharoi, otherwise known as the sugarcane aphid.
And my name is Sarah Moody, and the species that I'm defending is the Aphis glycinus, otherwise known as the soybean aphid.
So the sugarcane aphid is generally a wingless nymph. They only have wings for migration purposes. They are very small insects and are yellow, gray, or tan. The sugarcane aphids can reproduce without mating. Most sugarcane aphids are female and give birth to 1 to 3 live, pregnant offspring daily. The nymphs pass through 4 stages and can reach reproductive adult stages within 5 days, resulting in exponential growth rates under ideal conditions. The lifespan of the female is around 28 days with a range of 10 to 37 days. They are thought to originate from Africa and the Middle East. They have been present in Hawaii since 1896, but were not documented until 1948. The sugarcane aphids then traveled to Florida and Louisiana. They were found on grain sorghum in the Beaumont area and other southern states. The insects have spread to more areas in recent years. They generally reside on the bottom side of the leaves before they move to other parts of the plant. They have sharp mouth parts that suck and feed on the sap from the xylem of plants, which removes the necessary nutrients from the healthy plants. They leave behind a sticky liquid on the plant, which eventually turns it black in color and takes away all of its photosynthetic capability. In the U.S., this insect has become a pest of both sugarcane and sorghum. The population can start to build during the early seedling stages if the crop is not protected by an effective seed treatment. As population increases, the sugarcane aphids remove nutrients from the plant that would have been used for plant growth and ultimately yield. Plants become stunted, and the leaves may become necrotic. Severe infestations of the aphid and sorghum produce large quantities of honeydew, which allows sooty mold to blacken the leaves and can cause harvest problems. It is going to be a major problem here as well as overseas. It is a disease vector for sugarcane yellow leaf disease, which can cause major crop loss. There have been instances of 100% crop loss reported, and growers lost up to 50% of grain sorghum yield in infested fields in 2013.
And then the soybean aphid is native to Eastern Asia and was first detected in the United States in about 2000. After its arrival, the soybean aphid quickly spread over 4 years throughout 22 states. The soybean aphid is predominantly found in the Midwestern area of the United States. Wingless soybean aphids are pear-shaped, 1.5 millimeters long, and are yellowish-green in color. Winged soybean aphids have a dark thorax with transparent wings that extend past the abdomen. The soybean aphids use their mouthparts to feed on phloem sap, which is found in soybeans and buckthorn. Soybean aphids feed on leaves, stems, and pods of the plants, but are most likely found on the underside of leaves. Soybean aphids reduce gas exchange in plants and negatively affect the photosynthesis in these plants as well. Soybean aphids typically reproduce in high numbers at a very high rate, especially over the past few years. If these aphids are not in high numbers on the leaves, there is little to no effect. If they're highly infested, soybean aphids stunt the growth of plants, prevent soybeans from producing grain, and they result in a yellowish, wrinkled leaves that with dark moldy soot, which is caused by their honeydew that they excrete, and the plants will often die. This can lead to a significant yield loss of 40%. Soybean aphids can also transmit diseases such as the soybean mosaic virus and the alfalfa mosaic virus. During the winters, soybean aphids migrate back to their primary host, which is the buckthorn. If untreated, the soybean aphid can reduce a yield value by $2.4 billion a year.
Though both aphids cause tremendous damage to agriculture, the soybean and sugarcane plants are different in their purposes. The sugarcane aphid feeds on sorghum plants, which are key in producing sorghum syrup, as well as other popular products used for food or feeding animals. Though the sugarcane aphid does not directly feed on sugarcane plants most of the time, the sorghum plants that it does affect primarily has just as large of an impact, if not more, than sugarcane does in the agricultural industry. The sugarcane aphids do not only rely on sorghum plants for sap, they can host on other sweetgrass crops, which includes the sugarcane plant itself. The soybean plant does not play as large of a role in human society than the sugar and sweetness from sorghum and like plants do. Going back to what I said earlier, sorghum does not only produce sorghum syrup, sorghum has been known to be used in animal feed domestically or utilized in industrial and food uses. The high tolerance of sorghum to marginal lands and environmental conditions besides these aphids, its versatility as a food and feed grain, and its ability to produce high yields ensured its important role in the lives of millions of people throughout the world. Compared to the soybean aphid and the plants they feed on, this crop has tremendous effects on the world and would be detrimental if completely lost.
While the sugarcane aphids may affect the production of sorghum syrup, this is the only aspect of sugarcane that the sugarcane aphid affects. The use of sorghum syrup in human society is exponentially less than the use of soybean in society. Soybean is used for a high percentage of oil as well as grain implemented in feed for livestock used by many farmers. Soybean plants are used in many food and non-food products used by human society. Soybean is also said to be one of the most important legume crops for the global demand for protein and vegetable oil. Soybean aphids quickly reproduce and quickly spread across the Midwestern states. The soybean aphid spread to 22 states over a 4-year period, while the sugarcane aphid is only majorly present in a few states. This being said, it can be inferred that the soybean aphid produces damage across a larger area of the United States. In addition, soybean aphids host on buckthorn plants during the winter and host on soybean plants during the rest of the year. Sugarcane aphids typically only host on sorghum plants and occasionally other sweetgrass crops, though it's not extremely likely. Soybean aphids are consistently hosting on soybean or buckthorn, while sugarcane aphids are only consistently present on sorghum plants.
The sugarcane aphid has been growing exponentially and is continuing to reach more and more areas of the world. In 2013, the pest was found in Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi, and Louisiana. In 2014, the sugarcane aphid was reported in northeastern Mexico and more areas in the U.S. By the end of the 2015 season, it was found throughout the sorghum-growing regions of both countries. As for the main host species for the sugarcane aphids, there are multiple other plants that they feed on. These include shattercane, Johnson grass, and volunteer sorghum plants. Aphids also overwinter on these same plant species. In Mexico, the sugarcane aphid has been found colonizing barnyard grass. Along with these, the aphids have been found on actual sugarcane plants. Another reason why the sugarcane aphids cause greater damage to agriculture is how quick they are to reach a field of crops and begin to ruin the harvest. Sugarcane aphids grow wings and migrate by wind. When wind currents encourage dispersal, they can quickly move long distances from field to field to infest sorghum crops. This allows for them to hit multiple fields in a short amount of time. Once they arrive at the field, they begin their infestation and can permanently damage the sorghum plants in as little as 1 week. If they are not detected within this time, it is too late to salvage the plants, and their speed and ability to affect these large areas gives them power and allows them to grow without a stop.
The soybean aphid also reproduce very quickly on soybean plants, where they can double in population in as little as 1.5 to 2 days. In unfavorable weather conditions, the soybean aphids still double in population in only 6 to 7 days. The high reproduction rate is very detrimental to society and agriculture due to the high infestation over 22 states, while the high reproduction rate of sugarcane aphids does not affect as large as an area. While sugarcane aphids grow rings to migrate as well as migrate by wind, soybean aphids are found to do the exact same thing. While wingless aphids will reproduce, winged aphids that will colonize other areas within field or travel great distances in a small amount of time using the wind. The soybean aphids, similar to the sugarcane aphids, affect large areas and quickly migrate, which also allows them to grow without a stop. Soybean aphids also have a small amount of predators present during their infestation of soybean plants, which allows the soybean aphids to grow even more quickly and to reproduce to numbers that cannot be prevented, which often leads to death in soybean plants.
In summary, the sugarcane aphids cause immense damage and loss to agriculture. specifically the sorghum plants and those that have similar traits. In recent years, the sugarcane aphid has become a very popular pest to the grain sorghum farmers and is spreading rapidly. The wind carries the winged aphids long distances and allows the insects to travel without any hesitation. They can create an infestation of a field in less than a week, and once begun, can be extremely hard to stop and save the plants. There have been cases where the sugarcane aphids have ruined 100% of a yield from a sorghum field. Many researchers and scientists are working on creating an insecticide that can be used to stop these sugarcane aphids from spreading as greatly as they do now. The sorghum plants not only provide sorghum syrup and different food materials, but can contribute to ethanol production and can be used domestically, locally, and nationally. It can also be used as a great product for feed production for cattle and different livestock. Overall, the sugarcane aphids are affecting a very important aspect of agriculture as well as food and feed industries.
In conclusion, the soybean aphids are highly detrimental to human society and agriculture by the damage that they cause to soybean plants, as well as buckthorn plants. Soybean aphids reproduce at extreme rates while ranging over 22 states in the Midwest. With high infestation, soybean aphids can lead to a significant yield loss of 40% and create damages worth a yield value of $2.4 billion annually. Soybean aphids affect the society overall more than the sugarcane aphids can, as well as covering a larger area in the United States. The effects of soybean aphids are those which hold a higher importance than the effects that a sugarcane aphid produces. Soybean plants are used in society through many food-related and non-food-related products, such as a high percentage that contributes to feed for livestock, oil, and a smaller percentage that contributes to products for human consumption, such as soy milk, tofu, soy flour, soy protein, and a high number of retail food products. In summary, soybean aphids affect a product of society that is highly used and important in society at large rates over a large area, which means they have a greater damage and loss to agriculture than the sugarcane aphid.
Thank you.